Hey guys, this is Justine, L&L Farms, and I want to take a minute to tell you about the process of getting a Curie vote. What is a Curie and how do you get one? Now, I am a Curie curator. I have been with them for about 6 months or so. I am not an official Curie rep, and this is not an official Curie video. This is me answering questions that I hear a lot. I wanted to take the time to try to go over some things because I feel that Curie is a name that everybody knows. It's a well-known name. Everybody seems to be familiar with it and know that it's a curation group of some sort. It's essentially its own verb. How many times have we heard people say, hey, I just got curied? But as I have spoken to people over the last few months, I find that there's a lot of questions that people don't understand though. Sure, they can go to the white paper and find all this, most of it, and I will link that below. But there's still specific things that aren't clear to people. And I think it's important to be clear on those because Curie is a community-funded group. Curie's sole purpose is to improve the platform, and they depend on community support to do that. So why not educate the community on what's happening behind the scenes so that we're all aware and may understand it a little bit more. So first things first, what is Curie? Curie is a group of individuals whose sole purpose is to improve the platform by uplifting authors who are producing valuable content and are under-rewarded. Now, Curie's been around for over 2 years. I'm going to link a post by Donkey Pong, who is one of the founders, and describes why they started it and who started it. Because I wasn't here. I wasn't around for that, and I feel that his words really cover it better than I could. So I'm going to link that, but essentially those core values are still true today. Those people are still involved, many of them in one way or another. And as Curie has evolved with the platform, its goals are still the same. Help distribute rewards to those authors that add value. Now, how does it work? Well, the first thing that I would like to say is that Curie, the one thing that people don't realize is that Curie is a nonprofit group, which means that all the rewards that come in on payouts or from posting and curation rewards, author rewards, all those things that come back in are distributed back to the community after expenses. Curie is a top 20 witness. We pay for server fees, we pay for different things. But after all of that, it goes back to the community. It's done through a lot of different ways. I'm going to focus on community support in the next video, so I don't want to spend too much time on that right now. But just remember that everything that goes into Curie comes back out to the Steem platform. I think it's really important to note that, and I think it's something many people don't know and don't understand. Curie will be around as long as it's needed. That's something that's really ingrained into us as curators. Is Curie was designed to be temporary, and when it's not needed anymore, it won't be, because Curie is not here to grow its own account. It's not here to become a whale. It's not here to make a ton of money and go somewhere. It's here to help the platform. And so everything is taken and put back in through either tools development, like our Steem Lookup, which is a Curie-funded search engine that has a lot of different filter parameters that you can do to search the platform. Backroll, which is a platform that we actually submit our posts on and is an open source. It's done through community funding as far as different contests and different groups that help add value, help engagement, and do different things. And it's also small community that's regionally telling people about Steem and going out and showing people in the area what Steem is and actually onboarding them. So Curie does a lot more than just find posts. But we're going to only focus on what happens when a person finds a post, a curator, and what they do next. So, first things first, curators find a post. The group of curators is very open to see in any of Curie's posting. You can look at the weekly stats and see who's actively curating that week, along with their score, which essentially is how many posts they submitted and how many were approved. Scores are important for Curie curators only because anything that costs resources is not good, because that's taking resources away from the community. Every rejection costs money, and that money can be used to help support the platform and authors. So we're required to make sure that our scores are high, our approval rating is high per se. Second, what happens next? Okay, so a person finds a post, a curator finds a post. Well, where did they find it? I've been asked that before. That depends on a lot of different things. To answer it the easiest way I can, they looked really hard for it. They either searched feeds, they looked in their own feed, they spent time looking to authors and followed really good people. They paid attention, they went to curation radio shows and listened to who was talking and what posts were being shared. They look at quality content producers because those people follow quality content producers. Quality follows quality. That's one really great way to find posts. They could just stumble across it looking at something. Maybe it was a re-steam that they saw in their feed. There's a lot of different ways that a person can find a post. Steem lookup is huge for curators to find those posts. They can search certain parameters. They can search certain tags to find these things. So how you find a post depends on the curator. Each person has their own specific way that they look. And so there's 100 different ways that they could have found the posts. The biggest thing to remember is they really tried. They looked really hard and they spent a lot of time looking for it. What happens after you find a post? Well, one thing that I try to tell people when I mentor them is finding a good post is the easy part, is all the background that takes the time. Because Curie is focusing on original content to Steem. What does that mean? Well, that means it was posted here first, or at least at the same time as it was posted elsewhere. So we need to check that it's not on some other social media platform, which takes a lot of time. Scrolling through Facebook to see if it's been posted before, looking at a person's Instagram to see if those pictures maybe are from a trip 6 months ago, or if they posted it to Steem at first. Check for plagiarism. That's huge. We don't want to reward plagiarists. Nobody does. So we want to confirm that that post is essentially the author's, that it wasn't stolen from them, and it is their original work. Sometimes that means we have to contact an author. Maybe there's a person on YouTube who their YouTube videos are being shared on Steem. Maybe we'll email them. Maybe we'll make a comment. Maybe we'll try to get them to confirm that, hey, this is your profile. They make it easy for us when they link it to their Steemit profile. But those all need to be considered as well to make sure that it's original to Steemit, it's not plagiarism, and that it adds value, that it is exceptional content. Then it's not just about the post. We actually look at the author. Is the author engaged? Are they commenting? Are they responding to comments? And are they commenting on other people's posts? Are they interacting with the community? That's important. Are they consistent? Are they posting once and then leaving for 6 months and coming back? Or are they consistently posting? Now, that doesn't mean every day. Each person has their own way of posting and their own amount of times that works for them. Sometimes that's 2 times a week. Sometimes it's 7. It just depends on each person. So are they consistent? Are they engaged? Those are things we look for as well. How do they add value? Sometimes maybe an author only posts once or twice a week, but they're involved in all these communities and they're helping people and they're engaging and they're maybe curating themselves and helping to uplift other authors. All those things are taken into consideration by a curator when submitting a post. So let's say I found a post in my feed. I think it's great. I've checked all of their social media. It's original to Steemit. Maybe it was posted on another platform the same day, but it's here and it's original and it's new. I've checked for plagiarism. I've checked for reposts, that it's not something older that was posted from Steemit. And I've done all those things. What comes next? Well, then I submit it on the Becquerel platform to be reviewed. Then a reviewer who's on duty, there are quite a few different reviewers, 5 or 6, I believe, and they have different times that they look at posts. Sometimes they share, it depends on what's happening, of who's going to see your post. That information is not open to curators. That's done so to really prevent biasness. It's supposed to be very much about the author and uplifting them, not the curator who submitted it or the reviewer reviewing it. It's about the author. And so those things are kept sort of behind the scenes, if you will. Now, what does the reviewer do? And who are reviewers? Well, first of all, reviewers are people who were curators and they excelled. They performed exceptionally well. Most of them have been with the platform for a very long time and been with Curie from the beginning, many of them. They know what they're doing. They know how to find those things that curators miss. They know what adds value. They know what the exceptional level of quality that Curie is looking for. So then they get the post that's been submitted, and they check everything the curator did. They check plagiarism. They check for reposts. They check all of these things. They make sure the person is who they say they are. So you're really getting two sets of eyes that are confirming that this author is actually adding value, that they're consistent, they're engaged, and it's original. Most of the time, because they have the experience that they do, reviewers will catch things that curators miss. It's happened to me quite a few times. So that adds another set or another level of checking to make sure nothing's missed. A lot of times the reviewers are really great about knowing what adds value and knowing that exceptional beats all. That's something that's really important at Curie. Is sure we have guidelines. All the curators know them, and we look at the guidelines to see what qualifies as a Curie post. But exceptional beats all of those, all of them. So reviewers are really great at being able to tell when those things overcome too, what sort of a level of post overcomes the guidelines per se. Another way to kind of stop any biasness is there are multiple reviewers. So let's say a reviewer looks at a post and they're not sure about it. Maybe it's an area that they don't understand, or they don't know that much about, or they just aren't sure on the post. Instead of just rejecting it or approving it per se, they could leave it for the next reviewer. I think that adds another level of openness and inclusiveness. There are many different curators, and we all have different tastes. There are posts that I wouldn't even think about submitting, but another curator thought it was amazing. They submitted, the reviewer thought it was amazing, and there you go. Now that author may have been missed if my opinion was the only thing that it was based on, or maybe there were three different reviewers that looked at it. So having a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds really ensures that it's an inclusive curation group, which I think is super important and super unique for the platform, because unfortunately a lot of curation groups become very closed, can't really get anybody new in there. And I hate to say that, but it's just the way it works. And I think that's why Curie's different, is that it is extremely inclusive. Now, let's say a reviewer checks all these things. They check for plagiarism. They check for repost. Now this post is exceptional. It's an author that's engaged. They're consistent. Their rewards are low. And they qualify for a Curie vote. We've now had a couple sets of eyes on this post. We've double checked all these things. And there are at least two people who think that this post is exceptional. The reviewer then approves or rejects the post and assigns a percentage. The percentage vote, there's an average. There's things when it's a little more exceptional, it gets a higher percentage. There's been posts that were so exceptional, it got 100% once that I remember, percent vote. So that percentage depends on a lot of different things, but that's the reviewer's job to decide that. It's also the reviewer's job to make sure that Curie's exceptional level is kept. So they have to make those hard decisions and reject things when maybe they don't want to. They don't want to do a rejection. They don't want to reject the author's work. They don't want to reject the curator who submitted it, but that's their job. And that's what they are here to do, is make sure that that level is consistent. So then Curie shows up, votes the post, and the trail follows. The trail has a lot of posts, or a lot of individuals who follow it. That's when you see those hundreds of votes coming in. And I'll never forget the first time I saw that and didn't quite understand what was happening. Hendrik de Groot is probably the most famous one. He has followed the Curie trail as long as I've been here, and is really the reason that Curie still has such an influence that it does, is that his support and his vote that comes through. Farism is also a big supporter of Curie and delegates to Curie. But Curie's still a pretty small account, which people don't realize, that if you go and look at their delegation, they've got about 100,000 delegation, which compared to other accounts is not that much. Curie's doing all it can with its resources, and its goal will always be to support this platform and the authors that add value. It will never be to turn into some huge account. So that's something that I think a lot of people don't understand, and I just really, really want to enforce that and really make sure that that's something that people see. Because I think sometimes when a group wants to be behind the scenes, because Curie is very behind the scenes. It's not secretive. Everything's open. You can find all this information out by looking at posts that Curie puts out, by looking at their white paper. But Curie doesn't want attention. Curie wants the authors to get attention. And I think because of that, there's a lot of questions that people have. So I'm hoping that these videos will help that. I'm just rambling. I'm trying to answer the questions that I've been asked in the last few months. If you guys have any other questions that maybe you want me to answer, put them in the comments. I do want to do a couple of these. The next one will be about those communities that Curie supports, as well as those small Curie community sub-community votes that people seem to get a bit confused about, because there are two sets of Curie. There's the submission Curie of the big votes that are submitted and reviewed, and then there are the small direct follow or sub-community, which is another way for Curie to reach more people that maybe don't fall into the guidelines, but they're adding value and we want to support them. So there's different levels of Curie. And I want to go over those. So this one hopefully answered the question of how authors are found, how curators submit the post, what happens next, what all happens into getting a vote, the process behind it. And yes, if you want to know something else, please let me know. I'm just here to try to spread word about Curie. It's a group that I'm very passionate about. I think it does a ton for this platform, and I just think that it deserves a little more support than it gets. So that's that. That is what is a Curie and how do you get one. Next time we'll talk about sub-communities, and yes, reach out and let me know what else you guys would like to hear about. Thanks for hearing me ramble. Thanks for sticking with me for these 15 minutes, my goodness. And keep steaming on. We're all in this together.